What's up, MetaNerdz? This video is all about the vehicle that cut down rows of clone infantry, the OG-9 Homing Spider Droid. Unlike the HMP droid gunship, this walker did not have any personality matrix, long-term memory modules, or a vocoder to communicate with the world around it. So although I made the argument that the gunship may have had some sort of sentience, I think we need to view the OG-9 as a conventional mindless droid. Just a four-legged tool for dealing death, and actually for collecting debts. The OG-9 was commissioned by the Commerce Guild for the purpose of convincing debtors to give over their delinquent credits. But it was designed and manufactured by Bactroid Armor Workshop, the Geonosians that produced most of the droid army. After the snafu on Naboo, the Republic tried to break up some of the Trade Federation's weapons facilities, including the providers of tanks and B-1s over at Bactoid. Before they were destroyed, these homing spiders were bought up by the Commerce Guild, along with the DSD1 Dwarf Spider. At a cost of only 70,000 credits, you get a whole lot of firepower and features. Its main weapon was the homing laser that could sweep through the battlefront. Notice that this laser doesn't just burn through things, but contains so much power that it actually creates a decent-sized explosion on impact. That bottom laser is the anti-personnel cannon, firing volleys of plasma bolts that can melt through their fleshy foes. It's also reported to have a retractable ion cannon, but this is never seen. It is often compared to the Republic's ATTE in the fact that it is a walker that can move a large gun around the battlefront and that it can take on difficult terrain. The main ball is connected to the forelegs via these long reinforced hydraulic struts, giving the walker a wide and sturdy stance. Then each of these legs also had shock absorbers and adjustable foot pads so that each could adapt independently to climb steep and uneven ground. Really innovative design made sure that its internal components were completely sealed off, so that the OG-9 could walk along the seafloor. And whether submerged thousands of feet underwater, deep in a cavern, or on a mountaintop, this communication receiver made sure that it could still receive orders from the control computer. Remember, these are very simple droids, without a complex AI, so almost everything had to be directly sent out from Lucrehulks and core ships. It did have automated targeting, firing, and reactions to terrain, but it is interesting to keep in mind that these were always being told directly where to go on the battlefront. Kind of like a midpoint between our current remote-operated drones and fully autonomous units like commando droids. Other cool features is that it supposedly could be outfitted with different weaponry, and the hydraulics could let it bring those legs in and stand up tall, cutting down ships with that laser, or whipping out its concealed ion cannon. But again, that has never been depicted, although it would be pretty amazing to see. Its normal standing height is 7.2 meters or 24 feet, making it taller than an AAT, but shorter than a Hailfire. This height was crucial so that it could stand above and fire over most other CIS droids during an attack. Because, you know, just standing next to each other in loose formations, all firing in the same direction, is a quick way to increase friendly fire. The only flaw is that although the encasing of the core was built with thick durasteel, there is a weak point at the connection of these two hemispheres. If directly hit on this area, the top would pop right off as the generators and gas required for these powerful lasers set off a chain reaction. But how was it used during the Clone Wars? Well, 7,500 of them were present during the opening, doing what it was told to and just marching towards the Republic forces while unleashing its weapons. You can see that it had really good range, and the whole plan to fire over CIS assets worked very well as the battle droids charged the clone troopers. Here we see the DSD1 rushing ahead of its OG-9 brother. Now I mentioned that they were built and sold alongside each other, making for some very cool pairings on the battlefront. These spiders earned a terrifying reputation throughout the Clone Wars due to the burrowing abilities of the DSD1. This small spider was used by the Commerce Guild to break up mining strikers and pirates that held themselves up deep in their mining tunnels. This ability was also great for raiding anti-CIS populations and Republic outposts. When the DSD1 found an enemy, it would report back to its big brother, who would lumber its way over to finish him off. Its 90 km/h or 56 mph top speed meant that it may take some time to get there, but whenever you saw the little spider pop up, you knew that it was only a matter of time before you and your allies were being cut down by its laser scythe. Some OG-9s were present during the Battle of Bann, killing a Jedi Master, and one nobly tried to bring balance to the Force by opening fire on Jar Jar Binks. Later, they would be seen on Felucia, moments before Aayla Secura was killed via Order 66. Because they rely so heavily on direct control from CIS personnel, it is less likely that any survived the decommission of CIS droids after the end of the Clone Wars. And sadly, there are no reports of them being used by rebels or any pirate factions. So that's it for its history, but you definitely want to hear these cool facts and behind the scenes stuff. Something that always confused me and was one of my few disappointments in the Clone Wars TV show is that there are no OG-9s or Hailfires, two of my favorite vehicles. I wanted to point out that there were some inconsistencies with the guidebooks that say that the top weapon is the anti-personnel cannon and the bottom is the homing laser. I debated if I should change this for the video, as I could make an argument for why it's called that, but it just seems like pointless complication and probably a result of a mistake on their part. It is known for its main laser beam that is fired on top, and it doesn't make sense that the shooting gun isn't the cannon, and that the beam weapon isn't the laser. I think it's gotta be the other way around, so that's how I presented it earlier, despite the guidebooks. And I wanted to point out interesting things that both Battlefronts did right. The original shows how good it is against infantry, but takes forever against an ATTE, which probably wouldn't take that long, but definitely makes the point of how specialized the droid army was. Let the OG-9 focus on troops, let the Hailfire focus on vehicles. The new Battlefront has a more boring, if also somewhat accurate use of the OG-9. They wouldn't be piloted by other droids, and I hear that it works as just a giant turret while the Republics attack a core ship. And remember, they didn't have an AI, so you can see how a command to just have them line up as turrets actually makes a lot of sense. Additional information was gained via the Star Wars New Essential Guide to Vehicles and Vessels, On the Frontline, Essential Guide to Warfare, Ultimate Star Wars, and the complete Encyclopedia. So that's it for the OG-9 Homing Spider Droid. If you want to connect with us, help support the channel, or get your own copies of the reference material used to make this video, be sure to check out the links in the description. Special shout out to our supporters over on Patreon, but most important of all, remember, always shoot over friendlies, not in between them, and the Force will be with you, always.